Hey guys, welcome to another webinar Wednesday. This is Ronnie, so happy to be here. We also have
Mr. Randy. What's up, man?
Yep, we got the Randy Graham. So excited to be with you guys. Thank you for joining us. So this webinar Wednesday, not necessarily in the theme of Halloween, but we know everybody's really working hard to kind of get deals under contract and things like that, and you're doing your real estate hustle and bustle. But we wanted to highlight 5 different properties and or situations to actually avoid during this time. We know that you're hustling, bustling. We're hustling and bustling, trying to find as many deals as possible. But as you're going out, sometimes you run into situations where you know what, you just need to just leave this one alone. And so that's what we're going to talk about here today. So we have 5 we're going to name out, and maybe even a bonus. So the first thing that we want to kind of just highlight, and again, these are situations or houses that you want to avoid. I have, and when you're making phone calls and you're talking to sellers, you meet a lot of different interesting people. And every now and again, you run into situations where maybe the seller seems motivated, they have motivation, but maybe as you're talking to them and vetting them out, you're like, wait a minute, there's something maybe not all together here. And I have actually talked with sellers before that I went in, everything seemed okay, but as I began to talk with them, like, you know what, I think this person might need a caseworker, or maybe their mental state isn't always clear. And then we've actually had someone on our team that has been talking with a seller, but actually come to find out they're actually schizophrenic, and so they had some other disabilities, mental disabilities that we as a team we talked about. We say if we don't have help with them, if we don't have another family member to kind of help help them with how to maybe sell this property and maybe get a caseworker involved to move them on to the next, we actually could be doing harm. Because again, as people in the real estate world, we want to always make what type of situations? Win-win situations. And I just know for me, myself personally, in our team, how would you feel? How would you feel if you were to buy a property and all of a sudden, now the person that you bought the home from, they're homeless, or they don't have the support, they have, $10,000, but now what they're going to do with that $10, $15, $20,000? They don't know. And so it is best. I definitely want to encourage you guys, if you run into those situations, definitely try to network with the family or talk with the neighbors to kind of problem solve around that, to make sure that you can get that seller in the right situation. And if you can't, it's probably best to leave that one alone. Randy, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just along those lines, just talking to a seller that maybe just isn't there mentally, man. And just maybe should have like a power of attorney, but maybe doesn't have one in place. Those type of people all the time I see being taken advantage of, every day. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation, even though if you don't mean any harm and, your intentions are right, but you just got to look at the bigger picture. Like, does this person really know what's going on? What are their plans after we buy their home? You want to make sure that they've got a plan as well. Because we all know, like, your plans to sell the house, their plan is what? We don't know yet, and they might not know as well. So you just don't want to put yourself in a situation where you go ahead and assign that deal, you close on the property, then something blows up after that where someone's still coming back at you like, hey, like, why did you sell my mom's house? Because she's got nowhere to go, or she didn't really understand what was going on. And it kind of falls back on you. And then it's just a sticky situation, even though, like I said, if you don't mean like if you're not out to harm anyone, I get it. But some people are, and those are the type of people that, people generally try to look out for them. So, but that's a good point.
Yep. And, the next thing that we want to kind of talk about is, again, situations to maybe avoid. And sometimes with the crisis that is going on in the home, it's just maybe way too complex. I have dealt with, a lot of married couples or either couples that, maybe they weren't married, just in a relationship together, and they bought a house together. And maybe it's like really combative in there. Maybe there is a pregnancy that's looming. So like, there's a lot going on right now. Even having a bunch of prostitutes was in the home, and we're just trying to figure out, okay, what's all going on in here? Sometimes the things are just a little bit too complex, and you want to kind of leave those alone. Quick story, just literally just yesterday, we were talking with a seller. She was really motivated to sell her house, and we were trying to work with an agent and trying to work through everything. And then she was like, Ronnie, I just feel like every time I try to do this, it just doesn't go right, and I don't know what to do. And I stepped out of my, real estate investor hat, and I had a 20-minute conversation with her, and I said, okay, let's really walk this out. You're how many months pregnant? Okay, so your baby's due any day, and you're trying to sell a home, buy a home, do all of this stuff. You got your house on the market. You're getting ready to take, $50,000 less than what it's on the market for. I said, ma'am, do you sure you want to do this right now? Yeah. I said, look, I'm going to do the exact thing I'm not supposed to do. I'm going to tell you, have the baby first, sell your home later. We can figure out the rest. I said, you want to sell your home, that's fine. I said, but just there are more important things right now than selling your house. You have a place to live. You have a husband that loves you. Let's just put a pause, take a time out, think things over, take care of the most important things, which is having a baby, nesting, getting all that. And then let's have this conversation in a couple of months. Because, you're not really pressed right now. You're just pressed because you want this next home. Just hold on, pump the brakes. Yeah. It's kind of what I told her. But Randy, have you ran into situations like that?
I haven't ran into that specific situation. I've kind of ran more on the lines of like the squatter stuff, but no, back to that story you said. I mean, basically, if you just show that you've got their best interests in mind, even if they have to wait a month or 2 months down the road to actually be ready to sell their house because their life is back on track and back to normal, then they're going to trust you, and they're you're going to have that relationship built in already. So don't try to. I would never try to push someone in that situation to move out, especially if they could have a baby any day. That's not healthy mentally and physically for someone to do that. So giving them the time to make the adjustments and be in a better state of mind and a better place to sell their house is great. But properties that have like squatters, you mentioned that, like where there's something crazy going on like that, or not even squatters, just maybe just like you said, there's prostitutes in a home or just something out of this world that's just going to be a big headache to deal with. I personally wouldn't pursue a property like that if I knew going in that it's just going to be a hassle to even move that property, because someone's going to have to deal with those people, right? And if this has been going on, it's been a headache for someone, the current owner for the past couple of years, then it's going to be hard to get your buyers on board to take that on and hope that they can even get access to the property pretty quickly, because we know here, at least here in Indiana, dealing with squatters isn't easy. Right. And it's not just as easy as knocking on the door saying, hey, leave, I own this house. Like, they'll stay there. So it's a process on getting those people out. Some people do it the legal way, some people do it the illegal way, but it's all up to you. At the end of the day, it's just the fact that it's not going to be an easy property. It's going to be a messy situation. And, if you've got other leads that you're working that are more cleaner of a deal, I'd pursue those before something like that.
Yep, most definitely. And one of the other situations that you kind of want to avoid, which is also kind of along the same line, but want to spell out a bit more, or maybe, the seller, they are, maybe they're just hiding information. Like, they're not being very forthcoming about what's going on. I have dealt with a lot of different times talking with sellers where there are tenants in properties, and their first thing is like, just don't tell the tenants that, well, I don't want to surprise them. I might come in there, but if I really have intentions on buying this home, I need, and they're going to be paying rent, I need to have a good conversation with them just to kind of know what's going on. But, I've dealt with sellers where they want to get house under contract and they're really pushing stuff, but they don't tell you that the tenant is a hoarder. They don't tell you that. So then when you pull up to the house, oh my God, you have a whole bunch of trash, 6 feet wide, 6 feet tall out in front of the house. And they're just not giving you all the information that's there. They didn't tell you that they're just very even weird with their communication. It's hard to kind of work with someone like that, because again, when you're working to sell a home, you have to be collaborative. They got to work with you. And it's kind of hard sometimes dealing with sellers that are just very evasive with information. And it's also hard to kind of build trust because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Randy, what your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I think if you ever in that situation where the seller is not being truthful about tenants, they've probably had a bad interaction in the past, and those tenants probably aren't paying anymore. The property is probably not in good condition. It's just a snowball effect at that point where you
Yep.
just kind of keep learning more and more stuff as the more you talk about the tenants. But um, if they're not being truthful about it up front, then it's either one, you just don't have a good deal, or two, that you should probably get that property for cheaper than you
Right.
originally offered them, because maybe your original offer could have been based on it being occupied and those tenants paying rent. Well, now you're finding out that the seller doesn't want to, he wants to keep it hush hush. He doesn't want those tenants to know that he's selling, because maybe something bad might happen. They might destroy the place. They might go after him, whatever it may be. Well, you need to get that property at a large discount, because it's
Right.
gonna be a headache for you once you pick that property up to get that tenant situation either fixed or get them out of there,
Mhm.
which is all it's time and money. It's all it's going to be. It could probably take 30 to 60 days to get all that stuff worked out. So that should be reflected in your offer. And if the seller, I guess, isn't willing to either give you more information or lower that price, then that's a no deal in my book.
Yep. And it's okay. I mean, one of the things we've been learning, and one of the reasons you're talking about this is that, you know, no deal is better than a bad deal. Um, you know,
Every day.
every day. No deal is better than a bad deal. I can't tell you, I've been doing this for, almost 3 years, and, I have bought some bad deals, and sometimes Randy has been able to bail me out of them. And then there's been other times where, the mountain is just too hard to climb, and you don't want to, get into situations, because these are situations that I've learned firsthand. One of the other, things that you kind of want to avoid is, those tire kickers, sellers where they're just, they're not really sure. They're just kind of just pedaling around, just kind of, just wondering. They're not really motivated. You have to remember that time is money, and what you guys are doing, what we're doing, investing your time and efforts, and going out and seeing properties and things like that. You're always trying to dig to find the right motivated seller that happens to have a property. And so when you're talking to tire kickers and things like that, it's not a good use investment of your time or theirs either.
Yeah.
My always go to is, sound like you have a great property. You might want to go ahead and talk with a realtor,
Yeah.
and get them off the phone,
Yeah.
because you want to go ahead and get that volume and get those reps in and get kind of moved on. Randy, what are your thoughts about people that are just kind of kicking tires, just seeing what's there?
Yeah. So, like I wrote down just like a general list of questions to ask, like
Hmm.
just to kind of gauge that motivation. If you ask them, like, what's the reason that they want to sell, and they
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I don't know." If there's no reason there, then that's number one sign that they might not be motivated.
Yeah.
If you ask them how quickly you're looking to sell, yeah, it's whenever the time's right. Not motivated. And how fast do you want to close after I give you an offer? Well, it doesn't matter. All these questions you're asking, and they're not giving you either a straightforward answer where it says, hey, I like to close like as soon as possible. If we can close this week, that'd be great. That's a motivated answer.
Yeah.
Whenever we work things out, that's not a motivated answer. So in return, their price that they're probably going to allow you to buy their property at, it's probably not going to be discounted enough. So your whatever the price that you're at, that ARV compared to your price probably isn't, there's probably not a big enough gap there to make a wholesale deal work. Which means at the end of the day, you're probably not going to be able to move that property to an investor. So motivation's huge. Motivation's everything when coming to get the best deal. And if you're asking those motivation questions and they're not giving you solid, concrete answers to give you kind of an idea, then they're just simply not motivated. They just want to hear what you would pay, and then they'll hang
Yeah.
up the phone.
they want somebody to fuss at.
Yeah.
They want to get offended so you can have, so they can have somebody fuss at. So
Yeah.
no, that definitely makes sense there. I would also say too, just along those same lines, when you be those questions that Randy had were very clear and good, because you want to be mindful of market sellers. There are some people that just want to sell on the market. And so hurry up and identify that and get off the phone. Like that's fine.
Or
Get
refer
off
them
the-
to your realtor agent, and
right.
maybe you'll get a little referral fee, whatever, like whatever was worked out between you and them,
Yeah.
whatever. But just get them, either get them off the phone or get them talking to an agent.
Yeah. 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 Definitely get, you want to try to get them in the right place. If and after you kind of vet it for like, you know what, this isn't the right match for me, but clearly maybe you have somebody else in your network to put them in the right seat. Having that referral would be really huge. One of the other properties or situation that you kind of want to avoid is the one that just has too many repairs. Like it's just way too many repairs, and the seller just wants too much. During this time again when inventory is low, I've been guilty of it. I'm sure some other people have been guilty of it too, of just trying to make magic mountain out of poop. You just can't do it, and you feel like there's more in front of you than there really is, and you have to always continue to be objective about what the information is that you're seeing about certain properties. If the repairs are just going to be too much, if it actually is a burnout, and they're offering, they're asking $20,000 for it, and you notice the $30,000 neighborhood, just what, I can see the studs. I need to let this one go. Or if you're walking in the house and you see the house is leaning down to the side, you know what?
Mhm.
Thank you for the opportunity, but this house isn't gonna move. And I can. It might be better just to kind of just tear it down. But Randy, what are your thoughts on houses that just have too much repair?
Yeah, it just at the end of the day, it just comes down to having people, either yourself or someone on your team, see the house in person, because they can tell you everything about their home over the phone, but they're always going to make it sound better than what it actually is. Even
Right,
if the home is falling apart,
right.
they'll spin it some way to make it not sound like a tear down.
Yeah.
So just getting someone in there to evaluate the property, inside and outside, just and knowing, it comes down to knowing repair costs, kind of just getting a rough number in your head to how much is that property going to take to get up to a rental grade, or if someone wants to flip it, how much money are they going to have to put into this, and make sure it makes sense for that area and that neighborhood. Now, the only way this would work is if you are in a neighborhood where tearing it down would make sense,
Right.
and building selling that house to a developer who wants to tear that house anyway. Maybe you get that property for like $10,000, and you can sell it to someone who's just going to tear it down and just rebuild. But if you're picking up a property that really should be torn down, and you're like paying $35,000-$40,000, but in your head you don't know it needs to be torn down, but it really does because of the information that the seller told you, or maybe they sent you old pictures of the property. You're just going to get yourself in a sticky situation. So it just comes down to just seeing the property in person and making sure your numbers align with that.
Yep, seeing that property in person. And I know there's a lot of virtual wholesaling out there, and that's great. But just make sure that you got eyes somewhere on the ground to be able to verify exactly what's going on. So hey, I need to take this one on. This is one I probably need to pass on. So that's really good there. I think we've done 5 already, or did we do 4? I think we did.
I think that was 5.
I think that was 5. Okay, that's great. Well, so we want to thank you guys just for joining us for this webinar Wednesday. Randy, do you have any lasting takeaways for our wonderful people here in the Simple Wholesaling Group?
Yeah, I just think that all these situations we covered, you're going to come across it. If you haven't, you're going to very soon. If you have, then you're probably going to come across any type of these situations again sometime this last quarter. And with people trying to bring inventory to the market, because that's the big thing right now, is no one has a lot of deals available. So when someone does, they're selling pretty quickly. I think it's going to cause a lot of wholesalers to jump the gun a little bit on getting some of these properties under contract at prices where maybe they shouldn't. And it's just because of this stuff we talked about. They're kind of looking past some of these situations for the sake of getting a deal, where it might be better just to push that one aside and go on to the next deal, because it's either the property's in bad condition or the whole situation's sticky. So I'm always just like, hey, trust your gut. If you feel like you're in a bad deal or a bad situation, it's probably not going to work out. Probably move on, because your gut's usually right. At least mine is. And I just listen to that. So don't try to get into a deal just for the sake of it, do your normal protocol, do your normal research on the deal, and make sure you've got something solid before moving forward.
Yep. Again, just want to just encourage you guys. It's okay to say no on deals. It's okay, because again, no deal better than a bad deal. All right. So with that one, thank you guys for joining us. You have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.